By the 3rd millennium BCE, the world witnessed the rise of 6 pivotal, river-centered civilizations: Egypt, Mesopotamia, Margiana, the Indus Valley, China, and Europe. These societies were poised for rapid cultural advancements, shaped by the fertile landscapes and waterways they thrived upon. Central to their development were ruling elites, who derived their authority not only from power, but from divine or ancestral legitimacy. Mesopotamian cities were among the most unusual of their time, emerging from the extreme landscapes of marshes, transformed into agricultural land. These cities can be described as risk societies, built on the bold gamble that producing vast surpluses of grain, which would enable trade for essential commodities that were otherwise scarce. Over time, these cities evolved into ritual centers, where the sacred was meticulously organized and mastered according to calendric precision. The ruling elites, devoted to a complex pantheon of gods, governed with the belief that these deities influenced all aspects of nature and human life. Working in close alliance with a priestly class, they commissioned the construction of monumental temples, such as the colorful terraced ziggurats at Eridu and Ur. These structures, among the most extensive of the age, symbolized both divine power and the wealth flowing into these cities. Around the ziggurats, dense clusters of mud brick houses with wooden roofs formed the urban fabric, while beyond the city walls, a vast network of villages along the canals remained under temple control. However, the reach of these cities was limited, as their authority was confined to fragile alliances with similar city-states along the river, creating a landscape of tension and interdependence. In Egypt, a landscape less vulnerable to invasion, a clear dynastic power structure and consistent religious traditions emerged early. This stability allowed the pharaohs to harness the rhythms of seasonal agriculture, summoning farm workers for vast building projects during the agricultural off-season. Among the most remarkable of these was Djoser's Mortuary Temple, a groundbreaking achievement in monumental stone construction and one of the first of its kind in the world. The mastery of stone masonry became one of Egypt's lasting contributions to architecture. Djoser's expansive mortuary complex embodied the intricate cosmology of Egyptian elites, serving a profound spiritual purpose. Constructed for a deceased pharaoh considered eternally alive, the temple maintained the illusion of his perpetual rulership. At its core was the Ka statue, a representation of the pharaoh's spirit. This statue, housed in a special chamber, was ritually fed and oriented to gaze upon the western sunset through a carefully placed opening, symbolizing the transition to the afterlife and the enduring connection between the living and the divine. Around 2500 BCE, populations moved from the Baluchistan hills into the fertile river valleys that define the eastern edge of the South Asian subcontinent, the Indus, and the now dried-up Ghaggar-Hakra rivers. This region became home to the first urban civilization in the true sense of the word. The reasons for its success are clear. The 900-kilometer-long valley was bordered by vast, dry, and rainless mountains and deserts to the north and south, creating what can be imagined as a linear oasis. Irrigation here was easier than in Mesopotamia, and the ample supply of trees facilitated the early development of fired bricks that better withstood water damage compared to traditional mud bricks. This civilization flourished across an area of 650,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of modern-day France. Archaeologists have identified more than 1,000 cities and towns, all distant from one another, but unified by a shared language and a standardized system of weights and measures. Thousands of terracotta seals have been unearthed, featuring a diverse range of human, animal, and mythical forms, each adorned with distinctive markings believed to be part of a written script, possibly an early alphabet. Although much remains unknown about these inhabitants, Mesopotamian sources referred to them as Maluha, which might hint at their own name for themselves. Trade was central to the Indus Valley civilization. Ships transported goods such as bricks, beads, lumber, metals, and the coveted lapis lazuli up the Persian Gulf to Mesopotamian cities, where such items were scarce. However, the return cargo remains uncertain, as relatively few Mesopotamian artifacts have been discovered in the Indus Valley. Between these two civilizations lay an urbanized region, home to cities like Tepe-Yaha and Giraffe, situated in the once fertile Sagan Valley. Tepe-Yaha specialized in mining a prize stone used for crafting ritual bowls, while Giraffe, a larger city, focused on producing golden-flecked lapis lazuli, a material highly sought after in the ancient world. These interconnected hubs reveal the extensive reach and influence of the Indus Valley civilization within a broader network of cultural and economic exchange. This zone of interconnection extended to a fourth civilizational area, developing around the Oxus River, known as the Adranovo culture. Initially centered on small villages, the region evolved to include two large cities, located in present-day Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. These cities were remarkable not only for their size, but also for their meticulously designed layouts, showcasing a high degree of geometrical precision. Set against the vast steppe landscape of Inner Asia, this area became a hub for extensive pastoral communities. Its inhabitants skillfully navigated the challenges of the arid terrain, creating a thriving network of settlements that contributed to the growing tapestry of interconnected civilizations in the ancient world. In China, the first recorded dynasty, the Xia, emerged around 2100 BCE, which is characterized by a horizontal civilization of interconnected villages and towns unified around palace centers. Among these was Erlito, which flourished from 1900 to 1500 BCE, situated on the Yi River, which is a tributary of the Luo River. Nestled at the foothills of mountains, Erlitou functioned as a critical interface between ore-rich highlands and grain-abundant plains. The city's palace complex, encircled by a 2-meter-thick rammed earth wall, was distinctively designed as an ancestral ceremonial hub for the ruling elites. These elites conducted elaborate rituals that required specialized vessels and instruments, fostering the proximity of skilled craftspeople near the palace grounds. Unlike Mesopotamia, where cities were defined by temple economies, China's urban centers arose from palace economies. Although small elites governed extensive populations in both regions, their ritual practices diverged significantly. In Mesopotamia, rituals were grand public spectacles, while in China, such ceremonies were deeply private, drawing their power and reverence from their exclusivity. Between 5000 and 3500 BCE, Europe gradually transformed into an agro-pastoral world, dominated by interconnected villages, rather than centralized cities or large polities. This decentralized structure left the land governed by sacred landscapes and ancestor rituals, exemplified by renowned sites such as Carnac in France, Newgrange in Ireland, and the iconic Stonehenge in England. These were among hundreds of lesser-known ritual sites, stretching from Scotland to Portugal. Around 2800 BCE, the Beaker people began to spread, likely originating from the Balkans. Their name derives from their distinctive pottery drinking vessels. Renowned for their advanced metalworking, they left a profound impact wherever they settled. When they arrived in England, they encountered Stonehenge, which they reoriented from its lunar alignment to align with the sun. This subtle architectural shift, while physically minor, carried profound cultural implications that remain difficult to fully comprehend. Since its first stone circle was built around 3000 BCE, Stonehenge had become a monumental ceremonial site, drawing people from far and wide. It served as a focal point for winter solstice celebrations, a sacred time for connecting with ancestors. Farther south, on the Mediterranean island of Malta, an extraordinary culture emerged, constructing large cave-like structures mounded with earth. The island boasted a dozen or more of these temples, far exceeding the needs of the local population. These spaces likely hosted supplicants engaged in rituals involving chanting and hallucinogenic substances, creating profound visionary experiences. The abundance of temples suggests that Malta served as a sacred destination for surrounding Mediterranean communities who reached the island by boat. Stonehenge and Malta marked the zenith of Europe's sacred landscapes, a time when rituals remained deeply tied to the land. However, elsewhere in the world, the ritual world was shifting toward urban centers. Mesopotamia, in particular, achieved the groundbreaking integration of cities with ritual, redefining the role of the urban space as a center of the sacred. Beyond the agro-pastoral zone, stretching below the Sahara Desert, most of Africa and the Americas remained what is often termed first societies. However, the Americas should not be dismissed as merely a hunter-gatherer world, as many communities had evolved into affluent and sophisticated cultures. On the northwest coast of Canada, societies flourished as early as 3000 BCE, persisting until European contact in the 19th century. These cultures represent one of the most enduring first society traditions in the Americas. Further south, near the Mississippi River Delta, another significant site emerged, Poverty Point. This ceremonial hub was situated on a bluff overlooking the river, where the annual floods made large gatherings possible. Here, a massive artificial mound resembling the shape of a bird was constructed through communal effort. Different tribes contributed clay, brought in baskets from their home territories to build this monumental structure. To the east of the bird-shaped mound lay a 300-meter-wide dance area encircled by ridges, where temporary huts were erected. These large-scale communal projects became a hallmark of the Mississippi culture, a civilization that thrived through shared rituals and collective labor, enduring until the 16th century. These ceremonial centers reveal the depth and complexity of first societies, emphasizing their communal strength and cultural richness. In Peru, an extraordinary transformation unfolded as farmers descended from the Andean mountain slopes to settle in the arid valleys along the Pacific coast. This migration was deliberate, driven by a vision to harness the river waters for agricultural innovation. These pioneering farmers cultivated cotton for fishing nets and gourds for use as floats. Interestingly, they themselves were not fishermen. The coastal fishermen, already established in the region, engaged in a mutually beneficial exchange with the incoming agriculturalists. This unique partnership marked a groundbreaking socio-economic arrangement. One of the earliest examples of this cooperation occurred at Caral, located about 200 kilometers north of modern-day Lima. Caral stands as a testament to the ingenuity and collaboration that defined this early chapter of Andean civilization. The Zoser mortuary complex in Egypt and the temples of Malta illustrate the foundational role of architecture as models. Today, we often think of models as practical tools for design preparation. Yet, the history of architecture shows structures that served as built representations of sacred concepts and cosmic symbolism. The Zoser mortuary complex exemplifies this profound approach. Entered through a portal, visitors passed along a corridor of columns, painted to resemble gigantic reeds, creating a scaled-up model of the swampy shores of the Nile. This immersive design symbolized not only the transition between life and renewal, but also the distinct realms of human and divine existence. Egyptian architecture continued this tradition, with columns modeled as large flower bundles, intricately painted and, in principle, exuding a divine fragrance, enhancing the sensory connection to the sacred. Malta's temples offer another dimension of this concept, as they were modeled similar to the caves. They were dark, mysterious spaces evoking primal, sacred landscapes. The Maltese also produced some of the earliest miniature representations of buildings. These small models, often just a few centimeters in size, may have been tokens provided to devotees. More than mere trinkets, they embodied a connection to the temple, which itself was seen as a living entity, linking the bearer to its spiritual life force. Even the stepped structures of Caral reflected this principle, serving as models of sacred mountains that amplified and harmonized with the potency of the surrounding landscape. Across cultures, the use of architecture as a model was a key element in elevating physical structures into spiritual conduits, bridging the human and the divine, while enhancing the sacred resonance of the environment.